There's perhaps no single conversation in this entire journey that causes more dread. The money talk. Just the thought of asking your aging parent about their finances, their will, or their power of attorney. It can make you feel an almost visceral sense of guilt, awkwardness, and anxiety. It is so easy to feel like you are being intrusive or greedy, or that you are fundamentally questioning their competence, the very people who taught you about responsibility. We are terrified of being misunderstood, of damaging that trust, and so we stay silent, even as our own worry quietly builds. But what if I told you that this conversation is not an intrusion, but an essential act of protection? What if I told you that silence is actually more dangerous than the awkwardness? Today, we are going to reframe this entire talk, not as a source of guilt, but as a clear, guilt-free path to empowerment for both of you. To understand how to have this conversation, we must first accept why it is so difficult. This is not a simple hurdle. It is a profound, two-sided psychological barrier. The silence and avoidance are not built by just one person. This wall is built and reinforced from both sides, from your parents' perspective and from yours. Let's begin with their side, because for many parents, money is not just money. For an aging adult, money often becomes the final and most powerful symbol of autonomy. Think about the aging process. It can, for some, be a series of subtractions. Perhaps one's professional role has ended with retirement. Physical abilities may have changed. They might not be able to drive at night or at all. In this context, where so many areas of control are diminishing, the checkbook becomes the last fortress of independence. The ability to manage their own finances, to pay their own bills, to decide on their own what to buy. This is not a financial activity. It is a daily declaration of competence. It is the proof that they are still the adult, still the captain of their own ship. When we, as their children, come in with questions, even with the purest, most loving intentions, what they often hear is not, "I want to help." They hear, "I don't think you can handle this anymore." It is a direct challenge to their competence. It taps into their deepest fear, the fear of losing control, of becoming a burden, of having their autonomy stripped away. Their defensiveness, their "I'm fine, it's all taken care of," is not a rejection of you. It is a desperate defense of their a-self. This is also deeply tied to their identity. For their entire lives, your parents have likely been the providers. They were the ones you came to for help, for advice, for your allowance. They managed the household. They were the grown-ups. This conversation about money fundamentally threatens to reverse that lifelong role. It implicitly asks them to step down from the position of provider and into the position of the one who is provided for. This role reversal can feel like a demotion, like an erasure of the identity they have spent a lifetime building. So they resist, not because they are stubborn, but because they are trying to hold on to the last vestiges of the role that defined them. This is a heavy, complex emotional state, and it is only one side of the barrier. Now, we must look at our side. We must have the courage to ask, why are we so hesitant? Our fear is just as real, and it's often threefold. First, we are fighting against a profound social and cultural guilt. For most of us, we were raised with the explicit understanding that talking about money is rude. Asking about someone's salary, their savings, their will, it's simply not done. And asking your parents, who raised you? It feels like the ultimate transgression. A voice in our head whispers that we are being greedy, that we are acting like a vulture, that we are just waiting for the inheritance. We are so terrified of being perceived this way, of having our love for them mistaken for a love of their assets, that we choose silence. The potential shame of being misunderstood feels worse than the anxiety of not knowing. Second, we are struggling with the deep discomfort of that very postural reversal as they are feeling. It's not just hard for them. It's hard for us. We are, in a very real sense, being asked to parent our parents. We are being asked to step into the role of the protector, the responsible adult, the one with the answers. And it can feel like a suit that doesn't fit. We are staring at the people who are our rocks, our foundation, and being forced to acknowledge their vulnerability. That is a terrifying and heavy mantle to wear. We delay the conversation because we are, on some level, not ready to accept that new, profoundly adult role. We are not ready for them to need us in this way. Finally, and this is the most powerful driver of our avoidance, we are struggling with anticipatory grief. Sight start. This is a term from gerontology. Sight 75, sight start that defines the feeling of loss we experience. Before the loss actually happens, Sight 81. When we bring up the will, when we ask about a healthcare directive or a power of attorney, what are we really talking about? We are not talking about spreadsheets and account numbers. We are talking about a future where they are incapacitated. We are talking about a future where they are no longer here. This conversation forces us, in the most practical black and white terms, to plan for their absence. It is an act of scheduling our own future heartbreak, and the human mind, in its brilliant effort to protect us from pain, will do anything to avoid it. We tell ourselves, they're fine right now. We have plenty of time. It can wait. We are not procrastinating because we are lazy or uncaring. We are procrastinating because we are already, in our hearts, grieving. So this is the barrier. On one side, a parent desperately protecting their last bastion of autonomy and identity. On the other side, a child paralyzed by guilt, role reversal anxiety, and the profound pain of anticipatory grief. It is no wonder this conversation feels impossible. So we have the why. We have completely dismantled this two-sided barrier. We understand with compassion that our parents are protecting their last bastion of autonomy, and that we are, in parallel, paralyzed by our own guilt, our anxiety about role reversal, and our deep, unexpressed anticipatory grief. This understanding is the key. It moves us from a place of frustration to a place of strategy. Now, we need the how. We cannot, and we must not, try to break down this barrier with force. You cannot win this conversation by presenting a list of your worries or evidence of their decline. That is an interrogation, and it will only make them build the wall higher. The only way to succeed is to make the barrier irrelevant. You must change the dynamic entirely, moving from confrontation to collaboration. You're not there to take anything. You're there to help them protect everything they have built. This is a guilt-free framework built on one single powerful concept: empowerment. Here's the three-step strategy. First, set the stage by asking for permission and frame it as your need for peace of mind. This is the most critical part of the entire process. You must not ambush them. Do not bring this up in a moment of stress or in the middle of a holiday dinner. You must signal from the very first word that you respect their authority and their autonomy. Find a calm, neutral time. Then, and this is the key, you led with your need, not their perceived failing. Instead of saying, "Mom, I'm worried you're not handling your finances," which is an accusation, try this. "Dad, Mom, I was hoping we could set aside some time to talk, just the two of us. I've been doing some of my own future planning, and it made me realize I wouldn't know the first thing to do to help you if there was an emergency. It would give me such profound peace of mind to just understand what your wishes are, so I can be sure I always honor them." See the difference? You are not a questioner. You are a student. You are not asking for control. You are asking for instructions on how to be a good, supportive child. You've made it about your anxiety, not their incompetence, which gives them a safe space to engage. Step 2. Focus on their legacy and their control, not your involvement. Once the conversation is open, every word you use must reinforce their power. The central theme of this talk is not, "What will I do?" but "How do we protect your wishes?" This is collaborative planning. Instead of the blunt, terrifying question, "Do you have a will?" which can sound grasping, you frame it as legacy. You have both worked your entire lives to build this family and this home. I want to make sure we have a plan in place that completely protects that legacy so that your wishes are followed to the letter and no one, not a hospital, not a bank, not a court, can ever challenge them. Instead of asking, "Who will pay your bills if you get sick?" which implies you will be sick and incapable, you frame it as a tool of their own control. Let's put together a just-in-case binder. If you were on a cruise or in the hospital for a week and couldn't access your accounts, who is the one person you would trust to make sure the mortgage gets paid? Let's write that down, so you are the one making that decision, not a stranger. This is how you introduce legal documents. A power of attorney is not a document where they give up control. It is a document where they project their control into the future. It is the ultimate act of autonomy, a way for their voice to be heard even when they can't be there to speak. Finally, step 3. This is a process, not a one-and-done conversation. Do not try to boil the ocean in one sitting. You will both be overwhelmed and you will fail. The money talk is not a talk. It is a series of 10 or 20 small, manageable conversations. Your goal for the very first meeting is not to get every account number and password. Your goal is simply to break the taboo. Your goal is to plant the flag of loving, collaborative concern and prove to them that this topic is not scary and you are not a threat. End the first conversation with a clear, small, and specific next step. This was so helpful, thank you. I feel so much better. I've heard you say that protecting your independence is the most important thing. Maybe next month we could just spend 20 minutes finding the contact info for your financial advisor. I'd love to just put that one piece of paper in my "in case of emergency" file. You are creating a new normal. You are moving this topic, piece by piece, from the dark, forbidden closet out into the light of day. This methodical, respectful process dissolves their fear, and it completely removes your guilt because you are leading at every step with nothing but empowerment and love. Understanding the science is the first step to empowerment. If you want to continue replacing stress with scientific clarity, I invite you to join our community by subscribing. And please share your own journey in the comments below. Your story matters here.